Welcome back to Indomitable Interactive's Indie Highlight. Today I want to talk about a more well-known game than the last few episodes, HROT. The game is made by a single independent developer from the Czech Republic, or Czechia, that goes by Spitinev, which I probably mispronounced. Written in the dev's own game engine in Pascal, HROT is a unique experience I would classify as brown. There is no doubt that this game is not particularly aesthetically pleasing. Everything, and I mean everything, is brown. But you see, that all feeds into the developer's narrative of a barren 1986 Czechoslovakian setting. The setting is pretty eerie, and in that way it makes sense. However, that is probably the last time I would use the phrase makes sense when describing this game. The game features a vast array of interesting enemies. A soldier with a gas mask, pretty standard. An executioner? Now he's riding a motorcycle. I think you can see why I simply had to talk about this game. It is definitely sufficiently weird, but surprisingly there's a lot more to it than that. Not only is it nonsensical, but it is also actually fun too. Now, I say it is nonsensical. I should point out that this is mere speculation, as I have never witnessed Czechoslovakia in 1986. Maybe this is just what life was like there, I can never know for sure. But anyway, the most normal thing about this game is probably your weapon loadout. It is pretty standard, featuring a pistol, which you can later dual wield, shotgun, double-barreled shotgun, submachine gun, rocket launcher, crossbow, 2 different lightning guns, and landmines. You can also use a sickle as a melee, and left shift can kick no matter what weapon you have out. Your alt fire is used to throw grenades, which is a feature I very much like. I talked about this briefly in my Flash and Police Squad video, mostly saying that I'm not a big fan of throwables in boomer shooters, but that HROT's throwable was just right. The feature being an alt fire allows it to be in addition to whatever gun you're using, rather than being its own thing. This makes it faster, easier, more powerful, and thus more fun. Aside from the grenades, and arguably the landmines, which are something I rarely used anyway, the loadout is pretty standard, which I do feel is a missed opportunity. Maybe it feels a little off simply because it is exactly what you would expect in a game filled with things you certainly wouldn't. Nonetheless, there is a reason that this is the standard loadout, because it's a proven method that has worked for 30 years. As previously mentioned, this game is very brown. Despite that, I think the art is still worth talking about briefly. I think it very much captures the Quake aesthetic, which, to be fair, was also very brown. Something I really liked about the game was the level's environments. Most other shooters don't really try to look like anything, instead specifically focusing on the level's layout. Don't get me wrong, game design like that is more important, but HROT was able to have those well-designed levels and environments that looked like the real world. Dusk was another game that did this pretty well, but honestly I think HROT did it better in this department. That being said, I still prefer Dusk and think it has better level design overall, but HROT is the only boomer shooter that has come out since that I think even rivals Dusk. Something about 4-letter boomer shooters in all caps apparently makes them quite good. Nonetheless, this game is very comparable to Dusk. The movements and loadouts are similar, the art is similar, the enemy behavior is classic boomer shooter shoot at it until it dies. HROT goes a step further and makes more immersive environments in my opinion, and certainly goes a step further in the nonsensical, just weirdness, which I definitely approve of. I think Dusk is the better game, but HROT is more of an experience, while still being a fantastic game on its own. Just to clarify, I love both of these games so much that I have gotten every Steam achievement for both of them. And Dusk is not what this video was originally intended to be about, but it is the best way to compare boomer shooters, as it was one of the first to kind of revive the 90s themed shooters. You can argue that Doom 2016 is where the fast-paced shooter made a comeback, but Dusk was the one to popularize really stripping the game down to its core 90s elements, including graphics. I'll put up a list of other games that came out before Dusk that emulate 90s shooters as well. Some of them weren't all that popular, and some of them have other elements, and to clarify, I have not played all of these. Honestly, I do not have much more to say about HROT, and that is the way a good boomer shooter should be. Less is more, and there isn't much to talk about. The game speaks for itself. Nonetheless, the controls and shooting are great, the environments are top-notch, great level design, enemies are fun, but the loadout did leave a little to be desired for me. It rivals my favorite boomer shooter thus far, Dusk. It's a solid 9 out of 10, and I highly recommend. Thanks for watching.